Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Hey, welcome to the podcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and thank you so much for joining. Sometimes I go by the business tech guy as well, but I have a business tech guy YouTube channel. You should check that out. But for this channel, we go by the real estate tech guy. Either way, it's okay. The main thing is that you be sure and subscribe to the channel. We'd love for you to do that. But I want to get right into the material. I have 5 more questions that you very well could see on the real estate examination. And I want you to be prepared and be able to pass the exam on the very first attempt. So let's get right into the questions. It's our crash course. If you are going to be taking the real estate exam in the next 24, 48, 72 hours, you need to go over these questions. And I actually, for some reason, gave you the answer here. Well, we'll go back and look at it anyway. What was the purpose of the Federal National Mortgage Association? You know the answer. It was for increasing money. It's okay. I was fixing a couple of things and I forgot to back up a slide, but Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, was created to help keep money circulating in the marketplace. Now, a good example is a local lender in your area makes you a home loan for $100,000, just using normal numbers. Well, that local lender now is $100,000 short of money, right? They've given it to you to give it to a seller to buy a home. But there's other people in your community that want to buy homes. So the way Fannie Mae works is that that local lender who made you a home loan will now take that paper, because remember, we learned in the course that the note and the deed of trust, you can sell those, right? They're discountable. In other words, you could sell them to someone at a discount. But in this case, Fannie Mae says, hey, we'll buy the paper from you, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, the local lender, and we'll give you the money and you give us the paper. And in fact, the Fannie Mae may even say to you, you can service that loan. So in other words, you could be making your payment to your local lender and have no idea that they sold the paper to Fannie Mae. From that, Fannie Mae gives you or your lender that $100,000 to buy that paper, and now they have $100,000 that they can go and reloan to other consumers in your marketplace. So it makes sense when you read this now that the whole purpose of the Federal National Mortgage Association, or Fannie Mae, was created for increasing the amount of money available for credit for financing. So it helps keep the money circulating so that lender can sell the paper, get more money from Fannie Mae, and continue to make more loans in your community. And so where does the lender make their money? They're making it off discount points. Remember, one discount point is equal to 1% of the loan amount. Don't forget that, because they'll try to trip you up on that. But it's always, discount points are always calculated on the loan amount. And they make money off the origination fee, which handles the paperwork. And then they make money on servicing the loan. So lots of ways the lender can continue to make money, but it keeps that money circulating in the marketplace. Interesting question here, and you have to read these a couple, 3 times to really make sure you understand what they want you to answer. But Kevin is on a listing appointment and is explaining to Bob and Sue that certain economic principles are of considerable importance in the valuation of real estate. Kevin explains to Bob and Sue that no buyer will pay more for a product than the price she can pay for a reasonable duplicate. Well, is this known as the principle of substitution, competition, conformity, or the law of diminishing returns? Great question. And I'm telling you what, you could probably eliminate two of these with no problem at all. So I would probably eliminate C and D right off the bat. It's not going to be conformity or law of diminishing returns. However, it is a little bit challenging to ask yourself, well, is this the principle of substitution or the principle of competition? If you read that question again, I think you will probably be able to answer this question. And let's just drop down in the middle of the question. Kevin explains to Bob and Sue that no buyer will pay more for a product than the price she can pay for a reasonable duplicate. Well, this is called the law of, it's the law of substitution. That's right, the law of substitution. So when you look at this question, you can easily understand that no consumer is going to pay more than that price they could pay for a duplicate. So here's the example that I want you to know. If you're looking, or if a buyer's looking at homes in a subdivision, and there are 3 homes for sale in that subdivision, 2 of those homes are listed for $100,000. I'm just using that number as an easy number to remember. Prices are going much higher than that now. 2 of those homes are listed for $100,000. The third one's listed for $150,000 because the owner put all of these little extras in the home. Well, when you read that question, it tells you that Bob and Sue, you need to understand no buyer will pay more for a product than the price she can pay for a reasonable duplicate. That is the law of substitution. We're not going to pay more for that home for $150,000 if there's already 2 homes in the neighborhood for sale for $100,000. So if you see that question on the exam, that you remember it's the law of substitution. Okay, the next question, remember we're going over 5 questions. This is our 3rd one, but I've thrown a few extra choices in there for you. Terry has a purchase contract on a home with Mike. If Mike refuses to close the transaction, what would Terry's remedy be? Well, would it be rescission, specific performance, liquidated damages, or subrogation? Well, the correct answer on this is what? If you look back at that question, what do you think that is? I think it's probably B. And the answer is B, specific performance. For some reason, they love that question on the exam. So if there's a contract between a buyer and a seller and one wants to back out and they don't have a good cause for backing out, what's the option for the other person? Specific performance. So don't forget that one, okay? All right, let's keep going on. That's the 3rd one. Here's our 4th one. Jim takes a new listing with Mr. and Mrs. Wade. The length of the safety clause in their listing agreement is determined by safety clause. What are you talking about, John? That's also called the protective period clause. That's why you need our flashcards at Global Real Estate School. You can download those right to your mobile phone. I was looking for my mobile phone. And you can study your flashcards right from your phone whenever you have some extra time. Because there's so many definitions, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 words for the same definition, but a safety clause is also known as the protective period clause, and that's negotiated between the broker and the client. Basically, what the safety clause is this. If I have a house listed, and let's just say I have your house listed, and it expires today. Now, somebody looked at your house yesterday, very interested in it, and unfortunately my listing expires today. You're at the grocery store and you're over at the produce section trying to fill the guacamole, see which avocado would be good for guacamole. So you're trying to, and some of these are just too hard. And lo and behold, somebody comes up to you and they said, hey, we looked at your house yesterday. We absolutely love it. And you say, well, you wouldn't say this, but I'm just explaining the protective period clause. You say, well, my listing expires today. So call me tomorrow and I'll just sell it to you on my own. Well, that safety clause or the protective period clause says you have to wait a certain length of time before you can sell it to anyone that we've shown it to or that has looked at it while it was listed with me. Now, there's many rules with that. I have to register the names with you. If you list your property with another company, that voids all of that stuff out. But do you get an idea of what the safety clause is here? The length of the safety clause or the protective period clause is determined by, it's determined by the seller and the broker. And remember, that is going to be a test question. Listing agreements are between who? They're between the broker and the client. Could be a seller or buyer, depending if it's a buyer's agency agreement or a seller's agency agreement. But agency agreements are always between the broker and the client, not the salesperson. You'll see that question on the test. Don't miss it. They will write a question and you'll be in tears. You literally will be in tears by the end of the question, feeling so sorry for the salesperson. Maybe not in tears, but they write these questions where you're like, well, that ought to be the seller. The seller ought to, that ought to be the salesperson. The salesperson ought to get compensated for that. But the answer is no. That salesperson left the agency. That agreement is between the broker and the client. So when you look at this question, if Jim takes a new listing with Mr. and Mrs. Wade, any stuff in that agreement, that listing agreement, well, that's determined by the negotiation between the seller and the broker, and normally the broker would have that in their policy and procedures manual. All right, here's our last and fifth and final question. I've got lots of these other crash course exams for 5 questions, so be sure and watch all of them. They're very good, and they will help you pass the test. I'm telling you, they will help you on the very first attempt. Jane and Kim own a condominium together as tenants in common. Unfortunately, they defaulted on their mortgage loan. The remaining owners of the units in the condominium, well, you know what? We really don't care. And by the way, you want to read these questions 3 times, but nobody's affected by their actions because remember, in a condominium, you own those common areas as tenants in common, but you can take a mortgage out on your condominium. If you don't pay the mortgage, they're going to foreclose on your condominium and they get that block of air. If you don't pay your taxes, they'll foreclose on the condominium. Doesn't affect any of the other tenants, all right? With a cooperative, it's a little different because a cooperative is stock in a corporation, but with a condominium, you actually get a deed. And so in this question here, and be sure and read these questions 3 times. I wanted to wrap this up for you because I tried to keep these a little quick. But this was our 5th question. In a condominium, nobody else is affected if you default on your mortgage or don't pay your taxes. Just remember that. But in a cooperative where you get stock, everybody else has to pick up the slack if you don't make your loan payment or don't make your payments, okay? But in a condominium, doesn't affect anybody else. Remember, condominium, you get ownership. In a cooperative, you get shares of stock, okay? Hey, I want to say thanks for watching this podcast. You're going to pass that test on the very first time. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so. If you click on the bell, you'll be notified each and every time I go live. We're doing more than just real estate exam prep. Some of the live stuff streaming stuff I'm doing will be to help you grow your real estate career. So I want to help you after you get your license. But you can find us on YouTube at Global Real Estate School. Click the bell. Be sure and tell other people. Give us a thumbs up. We'd love that as well. That's always good. And check out our other videos. There's going to be another video recommendation coming up next. Watch it. I've got all these little short 5-question crash course videos, and people love them. They're helping them pass the test, so I'm going to keep doing them, and I'm keeping on creating content. I'm having fun, and I hope you enjoy this as well. And I'm having lots of fun clicking these buttons on my little stream deck. So anyway, I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Thanks again for watching this YouTube video. As always, check us out at Global Real Estate School. We're on Instagram. We're on Amazon. We have a Facebook page. And yeah, we're right here on YouTube. So you can sign up for any of our classes at globalrealestateschool.com. As always, go out and make it a great day. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.